You said our position is weak. So let us ask you, can you affirm to us that there was a Bible in Medina?
Can I mean, from the Quran, yeah, like we know that they had something, right?
That's begging the question. That's the very thing that is in question, right? You're saying that it is referring to the Bible. I'm saying it's not referring to the Bible. So we have to step outside of it, and I'm asking you, can you tell me if you have manuscript evidence or any of the Sahaba or the Salaf actually directly quoting from the Bible? No allusions. Don't give me the whole, the Prophet, he's not going to, yell in the markets and stuff like that and connect it to Isaiah 42. That's very weak, Akhi. We've been through all of that, okay? Don't give me paraclete, weak stuff, okay? Bring me exactly solid proof. Can you provide evidence that the Bible was actually in Medina? Yes or no?
Have you read Abraham Fulfilled, like the book?
Forget that, Akhi. I've read all of those, and I actually am directly in touch with those brothers, and I've actually debated them on this particular topic. Let's get back to you, okay? Because you actually claimed that you actually don't agree with our our position, okay? So forget the other brothers. It's just you and me, Suleiman and Fawad, okay? So tell us again. I will repeat the question. Can you provide evidence for a Bible being in Medina? Yes or no?
No, but there is one narration. Like I remember it was not the one you guys are used to about Isaiah 42. It was a different one. I think I'll try to pull it up if I can, but
you don't need to, Akhi.
Yeah.
You don't need to. I can grant you that. But then my question to you would be, so again, baby steps, right? Baby steps. And I'll get to exactly what you're referring to, right? Because I can easily tell you, okay, how do you know that this is actually alluding to the Bible? Why couldn't it be referring to an alternate book, what we're referring to as the Torah and Injeel? Why does it have to be the Bible?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just like...
Point number 2. Can you provide evidence, or can you prove to us that the Qur'an affirms the Bible as revealed scriptures from Allah to Musa alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam?
Yeah, definitely does, yeah.
Okay, provide evidence, verse, and I'll actually expound it to even the Sunnah, Hadith. Give me one verse or Hadith that actually refers to the 5 books of Moses as Torah and the 4 Gospels. And I'm actually being super generous. I'm taking out Pauline epistles, all the epistles.
Yeah.
I'll make it super easy for you. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Tell me, where is this mentioned in any of the quotations from the Salaf or the early scholars? Go right ahead.
I don't think they had Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, but I think they had something that was still corrupted, but it was probably more authentic. That's what I think.
Okay. Right. So no evidence. So far, no evidence. Okay. Now prove to me that the Quran is referring to the Bible and not the Torah and Injeel as described in the Quran and Sunnah.
I mean,
go ahead.
Like the Bible that we have today, I don't even think they had the Bible that we have today. I just think they had something.
What do you mean they didn't? The Bible, actually, the manuscripts and the canon pre-existed Islam by a couple of centuries.
Yeah, no,
what do you mean they didn't have it?
I know, but based off like the hadiths I've seen about, this was in the Torah, or this was in the Injeel, like I don't think they had the exact same thing. Like obviously it was very different.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
So I will repeat my question.
Yeah.
Prove to me that the Quran is referring to the Bible as you're claiming and not an alternate book, what we are referring to as the Torah and Injeel, as described in the Quran and Sunnah.
Yeah, no, I can't prove that it's the Bible.
Okay. Right. Now, 4th, how would you explain all of those things? For instance, if I were to ask you the description, so according to 7:157, it specifically says the description of the Prophet ﷺ is written with them in the Torah and Injeel.
Yeah.
Okay? Torah I understand. Old Testament, you will take me to Isaiah 42. I myself have actually done streams on, Songs of Solomon and, Daniel 2, Daniel 7, all of those. Injeel, according to you, is the New Testament. Show me the verse that describes the Prophet ﷺ, and do not take me to Matthew 21, because I actually did a stream on it. Okay, I'm one of the biggest proponents, or at least I was in the past, right? And by the way, just because I'm arguing for this does not mean whatsoever that the Bible does not have references that that could you could absolutely make a case for the Prophet ﷺ being in the Bible, but that's a separate topic, right? But I will not refer to it as prophecies. Because the moment you say prophecy, that has a connotation that is revelation and not the truth.
But my issue is, John especially, like, he seems very anti using this argument of the prophet in the Bible. And I think it's one of the strongest proofs.
Akhi, that's another topic. We'll come to that, okay? Again, that's a completely separate topic as to should we use it in dawah, how effective it is, all of that. We'll get to that. No worries, okay? Now, as I told you, like, I was one of the biggest proponents. I don't know how long you've been following our channel, but even till this day, I haven't deleted those. They're still there. Parable of the Tenants. I went to other channels. I've presented Songs of Solomon, Parable of the Tenants, etc. Brother DeAndre over here, he did the Daniel 7, Daniel 2 prophecy. Okay, we've talked about it. However, Matthew 21, the Parable of the Tenants. It has a strong allusion to the Islamic Empire if you connect it to Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. I can grant you that, no problem. But what does 7:157 say? It says that the unlettered prophet whose description they find in the Torah and Injeel, right? Now, if you're going to take me, let's say, to the Parable of the Tenants, which is what a lot of du'at, they like to allude to. Now, I can grant you, I agree with you, it is talking about the Prophet ﷺ, right? But it has to be connected to Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, which describes the Islamic Empire and how it took over the other empires. Now, at the time of Prophet ﷺ, 7th century, this would have not happened yet. So if I'm a Christian, right, and I'm in Medina, let's say, right, and I actually want to see the Prophet ﷺ's description in the Injeel. Torah, I told you, you can take me to Isaiah 42, I can grant you, yes, it does talk about the Prophet ﷺ, right? But I'm specifically talking about the Injeel. According to you, Injeel is the New Testament. Where will you take me? Tell me the chapter and verse where you will take me.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, the only one anyone can really argue is the Paraclete in John, but even that's questionable.
Absolutely. That's the problem. Now, do you see? I gave you, and I can go on and on, Akhi. We have so much content in the Hadith and the Qur'an itself that actually talks about things that are not found in the Bible. For instance, jihad being one of them, right? You really would have to stretch and say, oh, Jesus over here, when he was talking to his disciples, this is talking about jihad, right? But again, that's just like, I have to be super generous to you. Even there, I can grant you that that's fine. How do you explain those other ahadith? How do you explain the very thing that they recognize the Prophet ﷺ through? Where is his description there? Now, from what I see so far, Akhi, we have a much, much, much stronger case as compared to you guys on the other camp. Because I see none of the early scholars, and dating back to the Prophet ﷺ, the Salaf, the first 3 generations, all the way till the time of Ibn Ishaq, who is a biographer, right? Nobody quotes the Bible. My question is, why not? Why couldn't they have actually said, you know what, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Why not? 5 books of Moses. Why is there never a single mention? And the description of the Torah and Injeel is completely different. It's a revelation given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to these prophets, it would not include biographies. It would not include the doublets and the triplets that we see in the Genesis story. You know, almost all of the major prophets. Look at the story of Nuh alayhi salam. Okay?
Yeah.
No mention of Tawheed whatsoever. No mention of Satan. No mention of hellfire in heaven.
Yeah,
Nothing.
No. Yeah.
Right? Lut alayhi salam. No mention of Tawheed. Not him preaching at all to the nation. Not warning them about the day of judgment. Nothing. Right? Then you come to Yusuf alayhi salam. Nothing. No Tawheed. No preaching. Nothing. And I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Right? So how could we actually say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to these corrupted scriptures as Torah and Injeel? When time and time again, throughout the Qur'an, akhi, if you actually pay attention, right? Not once does it say in the Qur'an or Sunnah that Torah and Injeel are corrupted. Show me one single ayah or a hadith that actually says this. That the Torah and Injeel, not the scriptures in their hands, stuff. No. Specifically Torah and Injeel being corrupted. Go right ahead.
I mean, if you want to make it that explicit, you can't really find one.
There you go. 6 points, Akhi, so far.
Yeah.
And you're failing on each single one of them. And you're expecting me to take your position. Akhi, look, I've been on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
I came to this conclusion not because, Christians came up with this delusion and I'm like, okay, well now we, in panic, we need to find some sort of explanation for this. No, Akhi. This is the Islamic position. This is why Ibn Taymiyyah, so many scholars, they have actually spoken. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Didn't Ibn Kathir agree with the general confirmation?
No, Akhi. It is misquoted. This is why. This is such a sad thing, Akhi. You're talking about his reference to chapter 29, verse 16, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's the one you're referring, right?
Yeah, that's
read it again and read the entire context. He's not referring to the Bible, Akhi.
And I can actually give you another reference from Ibn Kathir that actually proves that he's not talking about general confirmation.
Yep. Trust me, Akhi, we've heard all of those. We've heard all of these things.
Right? No, I get you.
So this is not something new that you're giving me. Look, okay. I've been through all of these things back and forth.
Yeah.
Right, with all of these ikhwan, right? And as I said, it's not an ad hoc explanation that we came up with. This is from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, as I made my case for you from the beginning, from the primary source material, not something that, a random scholar nowadays said something. Forget John, forget Fawad, forget, all of these ikhwan over here. Let's look at what the Qur'an and Sunnah itself says first. And then let's look at what the Salaf says. Then let's look at what the scholars are saying.
Yeah, that's fair. But can't there's also the aspect of logic in it, right? And if you think about logic, especially the Injeel, how is that of all places somehow in Medina where there are barely any Christians in the first place?
No.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No. Akhi, look. Now, again, you're switching the goalpost. If you want to talk historicity, are you aware how many heretical groups were there in the first few centuries?
Yeah.
And they had their own gospels. Take a guess. Take a wild guess if you haven't seen the short that we actually uploaded, Take a wild guess how many gospels were in circulation during the first 200 to 300 years in patristics.
I think
Take a wild guess.
50 plus, 100 plus.
100 plus.
Yeah.
This is bare minimum. It's always the righteous remnants that are the minority. Almost at the time of all of major prophets. Look at the time of Nuh alayhi salam. Minority. They were on the correct path. Everybody else were kuffar. They rejected the message. Then let's look at the time of Lut alayhi salam. Same thing. Then let's look at the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. The same thing. Then let's look at the time of, for instance, in the Judeo-Christian literature, Prophet Isaiah. Daniel, Jeremiah. Jeremiah 8:8 talks exactly about this.
Yeah.
So where it says in Jeremiah 8:8 that the lying pens of the scribes, right? Now these scribes would have been under whose authority you think they were writing all these things? The king,
Yeah.
the royal kings at that time, which means they were of the minority. They were the dominant ones. Now link that up with the ahadith, the two ahadith that John mentioned, right? One is with the rabbi with the horn, right? And it's such a sad thing that we actually don't rely on our own literature, and we have to look at it from the Judeo-Christian lens. But since you brought this up, that's why I'm appealing to the Bible, that this is something found in the Bible as well. And by the way, with all due respect to you, this is not just you, so I don't blame you for it. This only happens with the du'at or the Muslims that are raised in the West. In the East or in Arab countries, it doesn't take much to convince them of this argument. It is only those people that are, that either have been hanging around a lot with the, people that come from Judeo-Christian backgrounds, like especially Christians, or they've been reading Bible a lot, and they've been using these arguments of Muhammad in the Bible. That's why I'm saying, Ahi, look, it's very simple. Look at all of the letters of the Prophet ﷺ. He wrote to Heraclius, he wrote to Christian kings, to different delegations all over. Show me one letter where he actually pointed out, at least I'm not aware of, you might actually help me and educate me, please help me out. Same thing for the other Akhwan, somebody in the chat. Can you name one single letter where he actually wrote something to a Christian king, right? Or a Jew or somebody saying, hey, guys, I'm actually found in Isaiah 42, or I'm in the Song of Solomon, or I'm in your New Testament. He could have easily done that. But what do we see? Instead, we see that he gives da'wah in a very different way. The Prophet ﷺ himself could have easily used this argument because he saw that it did work. Even the kuffar among the Jews that did not accept him to be a prophet, even they recognized him.
Yeah. So one thing is like, why is if your theory is right, why isn't it so explicit in our hadith?
It is. That's what we're saying. It is. How much more explicit do you want it to be? Because
wait.
The Quran. Yeah, go ahead, Akhi. Go ahead.
Sorry, wait, I just want to clarify. Which part do you think is not explicit exactly? Which part? The part about okay, let's say the Roman Empire, they had this substituted, horrendous, corrupted scripture. And then, you guys in Arabia, you guys have the right scripture.
Okay, first of all, it's not us as Muslims, but it's very weird. It's like as I'm
Okay,
wait. Is tahrif and tabdil clear in the Quran?
Actually, see, take out tahrif. Start with tabdil. Is tabdil clear in the Quran?
Is tabdil clear in the Quran?
I guess, yeah.
I mean, how much further do you need to go? It's explicit.
Is tabdil a substitution?
Yes.
Okay, no, I wouldn't say that's clear.
Yes, 279 talks about tabdil. It literally says, woe to those that write scripture with their own hands, and it is from Allah. So what else would tabdil be?
Yeah, but you can be writing, let's say you have the original Torah or Injeel, and you're making your own, you're kind of corrupting stuff as you go.
Okay, so it's substitution. That's exactly what Bible is. Go ahead.
Focus on what I just said about the verse. What did they say? Woe to them who write the scripture and then claim it's from God, meaning what they're writing is not. They're not. So that same scenario that you're talking about. What if they're trying to write, repeat what's from God, but they made mistakes? No, because there's no claimant. When they're writing something, it's not saying they're writing from God. No, it's they're claiming that they're doing so, meaning it's something completely different that they're claiming is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So am I making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I kind of get, yeah.
Yeah, so the verse is not saying the scribes have changed the translation. That's not what it's communicating. These people are writing something completely different with their own hands and then claiming it's from God. Because what does God say? He says that the Torah was given to Musa, the Injeel was given to Isa, the Zabur was given, meaning they did not write it. It was given to them. But then the people are writing something and they're claiming it's what was given, meaning they're trying to equate the two. That's the difference in what the brothers are trying to tell you and what the verse is saying. It's substitution. That's like you writing a book. You writing a book and you call it ABC. Me, I'm writing another book, but yet I'm claiming that book, even though it has nothing to do with your book, I'm also claiming it to be your book. It's not me copying from your book. It's me writing a whole nother thing, but just me claiming it's what you wrote.
Now, coming back to what we were saying, right, Akhi? So the case is very weak on your guys' side, right? And as I said, like, we're not begging the question. We're literally actually going off of what the verses of the Qur'an are describing Torah and Injeel to be versus what the Bible is, right? This is exactly why the scholars early on, they never equated the two together. They always distinguished them.